In the world of elite gymnastics, your body is not your own. It is a machine, fine-tuned for a single purpose, to win. My name is Anya, and for 10 of my 16 years, I lived inside that machine at the Olympia National Training Compound, a remote palace of pain and promise lorded over by the legendary head coach. He didn't just train athletes, he forged weapons. We were his arsenal, and our only purpose was to bring him glory, no matter the cost. The cost was always high. The announcement came on a Tuesday during the weekly weigh-in. I stood on the scale, the digital numbers flashing a weight low enough to earn a brief, approving nod from the coach. "Anya," he said, his voice echoing in the cavernous gym. "Mr. Sterling has been watching your progress. He is impressed. He has agreed to be your official patron." The other girls offered one, rehearsed smiles. This was supposed to be the pinnacle of achievement. A patronage meant your training, your travel. Your entire life was funded by a wealthy benefactor. It meant you were on the Olympic track. But we all knew the truth about Mr. Sterling. He was a man in his 60s who collected young gymnasts like prized horses. His last two protégés, both brilliant athletes, had suffered sudden, care-ending accidents just after they began to question his increasingly controlling demands. The patronage wasn't an honor. It was a life sentence. Life under the coach's rule was a carefully orchestrated system of abuse disguised as discipline. Our diets were near starvation, designed to keep us prepubescently thin. Every calorie was counted, every ounce scrutinized. Punishments for a missed handstand or a wobbly landing weren't a scolding. They were endurance sessions, hours spent holding painful stress positions until your muscle screamed, or being forced to drill a skill on an already injured limb. He called it building mental toughness. It was breaking us. Our only contact with the outside world was a media trainer, Ms. Jensen, a former journalist hired to teach us how to deliver bland, sponsorship-friendly interviews. One afternoon, she left her laptop open on a table in the lounge. A documentary about the dark world of coaching scandals paused on the screen. It was a story of abuse, control, and exploitation in our sport. It was my story. As I watched, mesmerized, I knew it wasn't an accident. Before she left the compound for good that week, she forgot a cheap burner phone in a locker. A single number pre-saved under the contact journalist. That phone became our weapon. I formed a secret alliance with two other girls, Elena and Sophia. In the hushed whispers of the locker room, we swore a pact. We started documenting everything. We used the phone's voice recorder to capture the coach's tirades, his chilling conversations with Mr. Sterling about my marketability. We took photos of our bruised wrists and swollen ankles, injuries he forced us to train on. We were no longer just victims. We were investigators, building a case against our own prison warden. The pressure mounted as the World Championship qualifiers approached. This was the event where my patronage contract with Sterling was to be signed at a gala afterward. My ankle, which I'd sprained weeks ago, was a constant, throbbing agony. The coach ignored the team doctor's recommendation for rest. Pain is a weakness leaving the body. He'd sneer, forcing me to complete my floor routine again and again. The landings were sending jolts of fire up my legs. He needed me to be perfect for Sterling. I knew that if I let them, they would break me for profit, just like the girls before me. The day of the competition arrived. The arena was a roaring cauldron of noise and light. I knew this was my last chance. Before my floor routine, I tucked the small burner phone into a hidden pocket inside my ankle brace. My plan was terrifyingly simple. I had to perform the routine of my life, and then I had to fall. I saluted the judges and took my position. The music started. For 90 seconds, I was pure performance. I flew, I twisted, I soared. I hit every tumbling pass, every leap, every turn with a precision born of a decade of relentless work. The crowd was on its feet. I approached my final pass, the one that put the most stress on my bad ankle. I launched into the air, completed the triple twist, and as I came down for the landing, I let my ankle roll, just enough. The snap was imaginary, but my scream was real. I collapsed on the mat, clutching my ankles, my face a mask of agony. The arena fell into a stunned silence. Medics rushed onto the floor, surrounding me, shielding me from the coach's view as he screamed from the sidelines. It was the first time in 10 years I was out of his direct line of sight. "It's my ankle." I gasped to the medics. "I need to get to the medical tent. Now." In the chaos of being stretchered off the floor, My hand slipped to the hidden phone. In the medical tent, as a doctor began to cut away my braces, I had less than a minute. My fingers, clumsy with adrenaline, found the send button, dispatching our entire trove of evidence, the audio files, the photos of injuries, the recorded calls to the journalists. Then I dialed the second number, an athlete advocacy group. My name is Anya. I whispered into the phone, I'm at the World Qualifiers. I have evidence. Please, you have to help me. The story broke less than 12 hours later. It was an earthquake. The Gilded Cage, Abuse and Exploitation at Olympia National was the headline of an explosive article by the sports journalist I had contacted. My evidence was at the center of it. The recordings of the coach's abuse went viral. The story of Sterling's previous proteges was re-examined. The sports world was in an uproar. The advocacy group moved fast, providing me with a safe house and a team of lawyers. The coach and Sterling's camp launched a vicious counterattack, painting me as a weak, disgruntled athlete who couldn't handle the pressure and fabricated stories out of jealousy. But it was too late. My escape had opened the floodgates. Elena and Sophia, now safely away from the compound, came forward with their own testimony. Then other girls, former athletes who had been silenced for years, began to speak out. The trickle of voices became a flood. The story culminated not in a courtroom, but in a televised congressional hearing on systemic abuse in elite sports. The coach, arrogant and defiant, sat before the committee, denying everything. Merv Sterling, cool and collected, spoke of his philanthropic love for the sport. They were powerful, polished, and utterly believable. Then, the committee chairperson announced they would play a recording. It was the coach's voice, captured by my hidden phone, screaming at me after a fall, calling me a worthless, fat cow and telling me that if I didn't perform, Sterling would find another girl to break. The room was silent. The coach's face was a deathly white, but the final blow was yet to come. The chairperson called a surprise witness. A woman walked into the hearing room, a figure instantly recognizable to anyone who followed gymnastics. It was Nadia Petrova, the legendary champion from a decade ago, the original star produced by the coach. She had retired young due to a mysterious back injury and had never spoken publicly about her career since. She took the stand, her voice shaking but clear. Everything Anya has said is true. She began, the starvation, the punishments. The way he broke us down. My back injury wasn't from a fall. It was a stress fracture he forced me to compete on for 6 months, until my spine literally began to crumble. He didn't just end my career. He almost crippled me. Her testimony was the avalanche that buried them. She corroborated everything, providing names, dates, and her own medical records. The system of abuse, protected for decades by silence and fear, was laid bare for the world to see. The aftermath was swift. The coach was banned from the sport for life. Mr. Sterling, facing a mountain of lawsuits and public disgrace, saw his business empire crumble. The training compound was shut down, pending a federal investigation. My victory wasn't a gold medal. I would never stand on an Olympic podium. But as I sat in a conference room with the advocacy group, helping to draft new safety protocols for young athletes, I knew I had won something far more valuable. A few days later, I watched a news report. A young gymnast, someone I didn't even know, was being interviewed because of what Anya did. She said, her eyes bright and fearless, "We know we have a voice now. We know we don't have to be afraid." I leaned back in my chair, a small, genuine smile on my face. The machine was broken. The silence was over. And that was a victory worth more than any medal.